David Brainerd was born in 1718 in Haddon, Connecticut, into a devout Puritan family. From childhood, he was thoughtful, serious, often given to deep reflection, even melancholy. But beyond his quiet nature burned a passion for God that would drive him to one of the most remarkable missionary lives in early America. At age 21, Brainerd entered Yale College. He was bright, disciplined, and deeply spiritual. But poor health forced him to leave his studies more than once, and when he finally returned, a careless remark about one of his tutors led to his expulsion. But in those strict Puritan days, that meant his dream of a degree and of becoming a minister in New England was over. Denied the pulpit, Brainerd found a new mission. In 1742, a committee from the Society in Scotland for Propagating Christian Knowledge licensed him to preach to Native Americans. His first assignment was a lonely outpost near Kent, Connecticut, a wilderness surrounded by forests and mountains. There were no English neighbors for 20 miles. He lodged with a Scottish family who barely spoke English. His diet was simple: boiled corn and ash, baked bread. His bed, a heap of straw on rough boards. Yet he pressed on, studying the Indian language, learning the ways, and sharing the gospel as best he could. But the frontier was not only harsh, it was dangerous. The French and Indian wars loomed, and villages were sometimes wiped out overnight. When Brainerd received warnings of possible attacks, his diary simply noted that it reminded him not to set his heart too much on the comforts of this life. In time, Brainerd realized that his small mission could not last. The tribe was few in number and oppressed by nearby settlers. He arranged for them to move under the care of another minister and set out to find new tribes deeper in the wilderness. He journeyed more than 150 miles to the Delaware Indians. Some chiefs laughed at him, others listened, and at last one community near the Delaware River invited him to stay and preach. He lived among them in their wigwams, smoky, crowded huts where the air was thick and his lungs suffered terribly. Still, he preached daily, often through an interpreter, wrapped in clouds of smoke and ash. In time, hearts began to change. An old man of nearly 100 years old came to faith, one of Brainerd's first converts. Others followed, gathering at night around his small cabin to ask questions about this God of mercy. But Brainerd was never content to stay comfortable, and he pushed farther west through forest, over mountains, fording swollen rivers, and often sleeping on the ground beside a dying fire. But through these hardships his health declined. The long rides, the cold weather, the damp cabins all worsened his tuberculosis. And as his sickness advanced, he grew too weak to continue. The Indians who loved him tried to make him comfortable, laying soft furs for his bed and watching over him tenderly, but he knew the end was near. In 1747, he left the wilderness for the last time, traveling to Northampton, Massachusetts. There he was cared for by his friend, the great preacher Jonathan Edwards, and his daughter. And on October 9th, 1747, David Brainerd died, at just 29 years old. His life was short, marked by loneliness, sickness, and struggle, yet it blazed with faith. His journals inspired generations of missionaries, including William Carey and Henry Martin. Brainerd's passion, his prayer, and his endurance made him a symbol of what it means to spend and be spent for the sake of Christ. Jonathan Edwards wrote that he and Martin are like the twin stars of the missionary heavens, two lives that burned bright and brief, guiding others to the same eternal light. David Brainerd, a man of frail body but a mighty spirit, carried the light of faith into the darkest forest and left behind a legacy that still burns today.